going?
Hi, it's Sarah. It's day 17 of the Body Image Advent, and today's topic was sport. And I have not really played sport in the traditional sense, in that I hated it at school. And but I have done a lot of dance in my time, and I think it did have a massive effect on my body image to an extent. In that, I think it made me a lot more aware of my body image from a much earlier age. So I remember being kind of 7 and standing in line to get measured for costumes for shows that we were doing, and just kind of begging that my stomach wouldn't be the biggest out of everyone in the class. And that's really weird, because at 7 I don't think that is anything that you should be thinking about. And it never really, like, it didn't keep me up at night, but I remember being really aware, and I remember looking at other people in the class and kind of trying to compare myself and see where I fitted in. And so I think, I mean, dance is something that I guess makes you more aware of your physical appearance, but especially when there's so much attention put on it. Not even in the sense that, you know, I wasn't told to eat a certain diet or look a certain way, but I was very aware of how my body should be held and how I should carry myself within what I was doing. And I think, you know, when I started hitting puberty as well, that was quite difficult, because I was quite an early developer, whereas a lot of people who did dance were very slim, very slender for a long time. I had pretty big boobs in comparison to a lot of people that I was in classes with, and it was just, I remember having costumes for shows that was so, it was so impractical to have bigger boobs. It made it feel like it was wrong to have those to an extent. You know, I remember cutting up like old bras and trying to stitch them in desperately to costumes I was having to wear, so that I had some support and stuff. And, you know, again, there wasn't any kind of major pressure, but I think it did make me a lot more aware of how my body compared to other people's, which maybe I wouldn't have been, you know, maybe I wouldn't have been so aware of that if I hadn't done those activities. But at the same time, like, I did have an amazing time doing dance, and it was a massive part of my childhood, so I wouldn't change that necessarily. But I do think it did have quite a big impact on how aware I was of my body at that age.
I tell you what, have you actually got an opinion on professional sport?
In what sense?
As in, do you feel that the existence of professional athletes, you know, kind of put pressures on the general public, or if they have pressure themselves?
It's interesting. I mean, I don't know any kind of professional athletes, but I do have a friend who's actually done a video for us today, and he will speak very openly about how I think it's a toss-up. Part of it is that he does a lot of weight training, and part of it is that he uses that weight training to maintain and achieve a certain physique, and part of it is that the physique he gets comes from his love of the weight training. And I think it's quite...
Catch-22?
It's kind of a catch-22. I would argue in his sense that it is perhaps more, you know, more of it comes from him wanting to look a certain way, hence doing more weight training. But it's weird, like, my sister's a professional dancer, and I spoke to her recently about this and said to her, you know, do you feel a certain pressure to look a certain way when you're dancing? And she came back with quite a great answer, I think, and she said, when I'm doing a lot of dance, my body kind of takes care of itself. I don't really have to do a lot of work. But it's when I'm kind of over the holidays that I do feel I have to kind of watch what I eat more and that sort of thing, because I'm not doing that amount of kind of activity every single day. I mean, she'll quite happily, you know, have takeaways, have whatever else. She's got a very healthy relationship with food and with her body. And I think that's great, you know, especially coming from that industry. It's kind of quite stereotypical to hear from people who've got quite an unhealthy relationship with their body in that sense and with food. But yeah, she does really well with that, and I think it's really refreshing to hear from someone who can just go, well, you know what, it does what it needs to do. And you know, she's very aware of the fact that she needs to fuel her body in order to continue doing the sport that she loves, which I think is great.